look away from Harry, and began examining his own body. His hands were like large, pale spiders. His long white fingers creased his own chest, his arm, his face. The red eyes, whose pupils were slits, like a cat's, gleamed still more brightly through the darkness. He held up his hands, afflexed the fingers, his expression rapt and exultant. He took not the slightest notice of Wormtail, who lay twitching and bleeding on the ground, not of the grey snake, which had slithers back into sight, and worse so laid Harry again, his sink. Voldemort slipped on those unnaturally long-fingered hands into a deep pocket, and drew out a wand. He pressed in gently, too, and then he raised it and pointed it at Wormtail, who was left on the ground and thrown against the headstone where Harry was tied. He fell to the foot of it and lay there, crumpled up and crying. Voldemort turned his scarlet eyes upon Harry, laughing a high, cold, mirthless laugh.
Wormtail's robes were shining with blood now. He had rubbed the stump of his arm in them. "My lord," he choked, "my lord, you did promise." "Hold out your arm," said Voldemort lazily. "Oh, master, thank you, master." He extended the bleeding stump, but Voldemort laughed again. "The other arm, Wormtail." "Master, please, please." Voldemort bent down and pulled out Wormtail's left arm. He forced the sleeve of Wormtail's robes up past his elbow, and Harry saw something upon the skin there, something like a vivid red tattoo, a skull with a snake protruding from its mouth, the same image that had appeared in the sky at the Quidditch World Cup, the Dark Mark. Voldemort examined it carefully, ignoring Wormtail's uncontrollable weeping. "It's back," he said softly. "They will all have noticed it, and now we shall see. Now we shall know."
He pressed his long, while forefinger of the brand of Wormtail's arm. The scar of Harry's forehead serried with a sharp pen again, and Wormtail let out a fresh howl. Voldemort removed his fingers from Wormtail's mark, and Harry saw that his head turned jet back. A look of cruel satisfaction on his face. Voldemort straightened up, threw back his head, and started a round of the dark graveyard. "How many will be brave enough to return when they feel it?" "We," whispered, his glooming red eyes fixed upon the stars. "And how many will be foolish enough to stay away?" He began to pace up and down before Harry and Wormtail, eyes sweeping the graveyard all the while. After a minute or so, he looked down on Harry again, a cruel smile twisting his shake-like face. "You stand, Harry Potter, upon the remains of my late father," he hissed softly. "A muggle and a fool, very like your dear mother. But they both had their uses, did they not? Your mother did to defend you as a child, and I killed my father, and see how useful he had provided himself instead." Voldemort lunged again. Up and down he paced, looking all around him and as he walked, and the shake continues of gurgle in the grass. "You see that house upon the hillside, Potter?"
My father lived there. My mother, a witch who lived here in this village, fell in love with him, but he abandoned her when she told him what she was. He didn't like magic, my father. He left her and returned to his Muggle parents, before I was even born, Potter, and she died giving birth to me, leaving me to be raised in a Muggle orphanage. But I vowed to find him. I revenge myself upon him, that fool who gave me his name Tom Riddle. Still he paced, his red eyes darting from grave to grave. Listen to me, reliving family history. He said quietly, why I am growing quite sentimental. But look, Harry, my true family returns. The air was suddenly full of the swishing of clocks. Between graves, behind the yew tree, in every shadowy space, wizards were operating. All of them were hooded and masked, and one by one they moved forward slowly, cautiously, as though they could hardly believe their eyes. Voldemort stood in silence waiting for them. Then one of the Death Eaters fell to his knees, crawled towards Voldemort, and kissed the hem of his black robes. Master, master, he murmured. The Death Eaters behind him did the same, each of them approaching Voldemort on his knees and kissing his robes before backing away and standing and forming a cement circle which enclosed Tom Riddle's grave. Harry, Voldemort, and the sobbing and twitching hair that was Wormtail.
And they left gaps in the circle, as though waiting for more people. Voldemort, however, did not seem to expect more. He looked around at the hooded faces, and though there was no wind, a rustling seemed to run around the circle as though it had shivered. "Welcome, Death Eaters," said Voldemort quietly. "13 years since last we met, yet you answered my call as though it was yesterday. We are still united under the dark mark then, or are we?" He put back his terrible face and sniffed, his slit-like nostrils widening. "I smell guilt," he said. "There is a stench of guilt upon the air." A second shiver ran around the circle, as though each member of it longed but did not dare to step back from him. "I see you all, whole and healthy, with powers intact, such prompt appearances, and I ask myself, why did this band of wizards never come to the aid of the master, to whom they swore eternal loyalty?" No one spoke. No one moved, except Wormtail, who was upon the ground, still sobbing over his bleeding arm. "And I answer myself," whispered Voldemort. "They must have believed me broken. They thought I was gone. They spoke back among my enemies, and they pleaded innocence and ignorance and bewitchment."
And then I asked myself, but how could they have believed I would not rise again? They who knew the steps I took long ago to guard myself against mortal death, they who had seen proof of the immense of my power in the times when I was mightier than any wizard living, and I answer myself, perhaps they believed a still greater power could exist, one that could vanquish even Lord Voldemort. Perhaps they now pay allegiance to another, perhaps the champion of commoners, of mudbloods and muggles.
Albus Dumbledore. At the mention of Dumbledore's name, the members of the circle stared, and some muttered and shook their heads. Voldemort ignored them. It is disappointment to me. I consider myself disappointed. One of the men suddenly flung himself forwards, breaking the circle. Trembling from head to foot, he collapsed at Voldemort's feet. Master, he shrieked. Master, forgive me. Forgive us all. Voldemort began to laugh. He raised his wand crucio. The dead entered on the ground, raised and shrieked. Harry was sure the sound must carry to the houses around. Let the police come, he said desperately, anyone, anything.
Voldemort recited his wand. The tower does its late flight upon the ground, gasping. Get up, Avery, said Voldemort softly. Stand up. You ask for forgiveness. I do not forgive. I do not forget. The wrinkle on your eyes and your 16 years payment before I forgive you. Wortmile, his hand may come over hill there already. Have you not Wortmile? He looked down at Wortmile, who continued to cough. You return to mine, not out of loyalty, but out of fear of your old friends. You citizens paying Wortmile. You know that, don't you? Yes, master, moaned Wortmile. Please, master, please. Yet you helped return me to my body, said Wortmile, cool, watching Wortmile sob on the ground. Worthless and trial as you help me, I word my helpers, and Lord Voldemort. Voldemort raised his young hand and twirled it through the air, a streak of beyond looking like molten silver hand shining in the long wake. Momentarily sharpened in raised and then formed itself into a gleaming replica of a human hand, bright as morn, which curled downward and fixed itself upon Wortmile's brink wrist. Wortmile's coughing stopped abruptly, his breathing harsh and rugged. He raised his hand and stared in disbelief at the silver hand, now attached seamlessly to his arm, as though he were wearing a dazzling glove. He flexed the shining thickness, then, trembling, picked up a small twig on the ground and crushed it into powder. My lord, he whispered, master, beautiful, thank you, thank you.
My loyalty never wavered again. One-time sighed Voldemort, one-time sighed Voldemort, no, my lord, never, my lord. One-time stood and took his place in the circle, striking at his powerful knave hand, his face still shining with tears. Voldemort no hand the man on Valentine's big look is my slippery fright. He swept all the time before his I am Talgat, you have not renounced the old was to the word you parents respectable face you are.
My lord, I was constantly on the alert, came Lucius Malfoy's voice swiftly from beneath the hood. Had there been any sign from you, any whisper of a roused, I would have been each side immediately. Nothing could have prevented me, and you ran from my mark when a fateful death entered into the skyless summer, said Voldemort lazily, and Mr. Malfoy stopped talking abruptly. Yes, I know all about that, Lucius. You have disappointed me. I expect more faithful service future. Of course, my lord, course, you merciful. Thank you. Voldemort moved on and stopped staring at the spice large. Enough for two people, whispered Malfoy and the next man. The Lestradean should stand here, said Voldemort. quietly, but they are intimate in Azkaban. They far frightful. They went to Azkaban rather than renounce me.
Azkaban is broken open. The strangers will be honored beyond their dreams. The Dementors will join. They are our natural allies. We will recall the banished giants. I shall have all my devoted servants return to me and an army of creatures whom I'll fear. He walked on. Some of the Death Eaters he passed in silence, but he passed before others and spoke to them. McNair, destroying dangerous beasts for the Ministry of Magic now. Wormtail tells me, you shall have better victims than that son, McNair. Lord Voldemort will provide. Thank you, master, thank you, murmured McNair. And he, Voldemort, moved on the two largest hooded figures. We have Crabbe. You will do better this time, will you not, Crabbe? And you, Goyle? They bowed, clumsily muttering dully, yes, master, we will, master. They say, goes for you not, sighed Voldemort. Quietly, as he walked past a stupid figure in Mr. Goyle's shadow. My lord, I prostrate myself before you. I am your most faithful. That will do, sighed Voldemort. He had reached the largest job of all, and he stood servant it with his blank red eyes, as such he called the people standing there.
And here we have 6 missing this Easter, 3 dead in my service, 1 too cowardly to return, he will pay, 1 who I believe has left me forever. He will be killed, of course, and 1 who remains my most famous servant, and who has already re-entered my service. That Easter string Harry saw their eyes dart sideways at each other through their masks. He is at Hogwarts, that famous servant, and it was through his efforts that your young friend arrived tonight. Yes, said Voldemort, a grin curling his lips' mouth, as the eyes of the circle flashed in Harry's direction. Harry Potter has kindly joined us for my reading party. One might go so far as to call he my guest of honor. There was a silence, then the Death Eater to the right of Voldemort stand forward, and Lucius Malfoy's voice spoke from under the mask. Master, we crave to know, we beg you to tell us how you have achieved this miracle, how you managed to return to us.
What a story it is, Lucius, said Voldemort, and it begins and ends with my young friend here. He walked lazily over to stand next to Harry, so that the eyes of the hollow circle were upon two of them. The snake continued to circle. You know, of course, they have called his boy my downfall, Voldemort said softly, his red eyes upon Harry, whose scar began to burn so fiercely that he almost screamed in agony. You all know that on the night I lost my powder and my body, I tried to kill me. His mace died in his attempt to save him, and Antling provided him with a protection I mean I'd no foreseen. I could not touch the boy. Voldemort raised one of his long white fingers and put it very close to Harry's cheek. His mace left upon him and traces of the sacrifice. This is old magic, I should have remembered. I was sufficient to outlook, but no maid. I can touch him now. Harry flayed the coative of the long white finger.
Powerless as the weakest creature in the world, and without the means to help myself, for I had nobody, and every spell that could have helped me required the use of a wand. I remember only forcing myself sleeplessly, endlessly, second by second, to excite. Settle in a faraway place in the forest, and I await no doubled for one of my wonderful desires to try to find me. One of them to come and perform the magic. I called not to give me back my body, but I waited in vain. A shiver through the circle of desires, listening again. Voldemort let the silence spiral horribly before considering I had only one power left. I could possess the habits of others, for I knew that the errors were still about searching.
I sometimes inhabited animals, snakes, of course, be my preference, but I was little better off inside them than a spirit, for their body was ill-adapted to perform magic, and my possession of them short their lives. None of them lasted long. Then, 4 years ago, the means for my return seems assured. A wizard, young, foolish and gullible, wanders across my past in the forest I had mined my home. Oh, he seems the very chance I had been dreams of, for he was a teacher at Dumbledore School. He was easy to bend to my will. He brought me back to this country, and often a while I took possession of his body to separate him close as he cried to my order. But my plan failed. I did not manage to steal the sorcerer's stone. I was not to be assured upon life. I was thwarted, one-egged by Harry Potter. Silence was more. Nothing was stirring, not even the leaves on the yew tree. The diseater quietly motion. The glitter and in the max fixed upon Voldemort and upon Garry.
The seventh died when I left his body, and I was left as weak as ever I had been. Voldemort continued. I returned to my hiding place far away, and I will not pretend to you that I didn't then fear that I might never regain my powers, as that was perhaps my darkest hour. I could not hope that I would be sent another wither to possess, and I had given up hope now that every of my dead eaters cared what had become of me. One or two of the masked wizards in the circle moved uncomfortably, but Voldemort took no notice. And then, not even ago, when I had almost abandoned hope, it happened at last. A seventh returned to me, Wormtail here, who had faked his own death to explain justice, was driven out of hiding by those he had once counted friends, and decided to return to his master. He sought me in the country where it had long been rumored I was hiding, helped, of course, by the rats he met along the way. Wormtail, had you curious appetite, fish rats, do you not, Wormtail? His filthy little friends told him there was a place deep in an Albanian forest that they evident their small animals like themselves had met their deaths by a dark shadow that poisoned them.
But his journey back to me was not smooth. Was it Wormtail? For hungry one night on the edge of the very forest where he had hoped to find me, he foolishly stopped at an inn for some food. And whom should he meet there but one Berta Jorkins, a witch from the Ministry of Magic? Now see the way that fate favors Lord Voldemort. This might have been as the end of Wormtail, and of my last hope for regeneration. But Wormtail displaying a presence of mind I would never have expected of him, convinced Berta Jorkins to accompany him on a night-time stroll. He overpowered her. He brought her to me, and Berta Jorkins, who might have ruined all, proved instead to be a gift beyond my wildest dreams. For with a little persuasion, she became a veritable mine of information. She told me that the
mind and body were both made beyond repair. She had now served her purpose. I could not possess her. I disposed of her. Voldemort smiled his terrible smile, his red eyes blank and pitiless. Wormtail's body, of course, was ill-adapted for position, as all assumed him dead, and would attract far too much attention if seen. However, he was the able-bodied servant I needed, and poor wizard so he is. Wormtail was able to follow the instructions I gave him, which would return me to a rudimentary weak body of my own, a body I would be able to inhabit while awaiting the essential ingredients for true rebirth. A spell or two of my own invention, a little help from my dear Nagini. Voldemort's red eyes fell upon the continually selling snake. A potion contacted from unicorn blood and the snake venom Nagini provided. I was suddenly tied to an almost uniform form and strong enough to travel. There was no hope of stealing the Sorcerer's Stone anymore, for I knew that Dumbledore would have seen to it that it was destroyed. But I was willing to embrace mortal life again, before chasing immortal. I set my sight lower. I would settle for my old body big again, and my old strength. I knew that to achieve this, it is at all possible.
Of dark magic, the potion that revived me time, I would need 3 powerful ingredients. Well, one of the was already at hand, was it not worthwhile? Flesh given by a servant. My father's boon naturally meant that we would have to come here, where he was buried, but the blood of a foe. Worthwhile would have had me use any wizard, would you not, Worthwhile? Any wizard who had hated me, as so many of them still do, but now the one I must use if I was to rise again more powerful than I had been when I had fallen. I wanted Harry Potter's blood. I wanted the blood of the one who had stripped me of power 13 years old. For the lingering protections his mother once gave him would then reside in my veins too. But how to get at Harry Potter's? for he has been better protected than I think even he knows protected in ways devised by Dumbledore long ago. When it fell to him to arrange the boy's future, Dumbledore invoked an ancient magic to ensure the boy's protection as long as he is in his relation's care. Not even I can touch him there. Then, of course, there was the Quidditch World Cup. I thought his protections might be weaker there, away from his relations and Dumbledore. But I was not yet strong enough to attempt kidnapping in the minds of a horde of
Ministry Wizard. And then the boy would return to Hogwarts, where he is under the crooked nose of that muggle-loving fur from morning until night. So how could I take him? By using better Rowling's information, of course. Use my one faithful Death Eater stationed at Hogwarts to ensure that the boy's name was entered into the Goblet of Fire. Use my Death Eater to ensure that the boy won the tournament, that he touched the Triwizard Cup, first the cup which my Death Eater had turned into a portkey, which would bring him here beyond the reach of Dumbledore's help and protection, and into my waiting arms. And here he is, the boy you all believed had been my downfall. Voldemort walked slowly forward and turned to face Harry. He raised his wand Crucio. It was pain beyond anything Harry had ever experienced. His very bones were on fire. His head was surely splitting along his skull. His eyes were rolling madly in his head. He wanted.
And when it was gone, he was hanging limply in the ropes, binding him to the headstone of Voldemort, father looking into those bright red eyes through a kind of mist. The night was ringing with the sound of the Death Eater's laughter. You see, I think how foolish it was to suppose that this boy could ever have been stronger than me, said Voldemort. But I want there to be no mistake in anybody's mind. Harry Potter escaped me by a like chance, and I am now going to prove my power by killing him. Here and now in front of you all, when there is no Dumbledore to help him and no mother to die for him. I will give him his chance. We will be allowed to fight, and you will be left in no doubt which of I is the stronger. Just a little longer, Nagini, he whispered, and the snake glided ever through the grass towards, and Death Eater stood watching. Now ain't him warm time, and give him back his word.